All right, in this video, what I wanted to talk about is hitting, and specifically I wanted to show some video of attackers backpedaling in transition and backpedaling to set themselves up for the attack. And I know that this is typically something that coaches, we try to I guess extinguish, right? We want to teach our players to turn and run, whatever the sequence of steps happens to be. Oftentimes it's, this 4-step approach off the net and 4-step on, or variations of that. And the reason that I want to bring this video to the backpedal to our attention is because, again, I like to look at the game and just watch and look for things and patterns that I see a lot of. And while I agree that I think the turn and run footwork is important, I believe that it has its time and place. And at other times, quite frequently, the backpedal is going to be a real movement that can lead to success. And sometimes, in many cases, I think it's a more appropriate or more efficient type of footwork, given the either time constraints or just the various constraints of the task at hand. So let's get into it. Here we have a player, and what we're watching here is a 13 American finals gold medal match from 2016. And as you can see, this off blocker movement and defensive readiness requires her to kind of dig in here a little bit longer to ensure that she doesn't have to dig this ball. And at this point, the ball is already being dug on her side. The back pedal really, I think, ends up being the movement of choice there. And the nice thing about, I think, the back pedal here is it doesn't require her to turn her attention and eyes away from what's happening with the dig and the set, so she can read the entire sequence. But also there's just less movement of turning the hips away so she can run off the net, and then spinning and turning the hips and body back towards the net to begin the attack. We're gonna look at the same player on the other side now, and again you see the back pedal being used, and she does it twice there. So she gets the touch and the kill, so it works out. The the attention and focus being paid towards defense, what's happening at the net, getting involved there, is really a constraint that I think prevents her from being able to turn and run in this moment. And again, also here, she's not quite sure, where this ball or tip or block back is going to go. So she's kind of dug in and ready to play defense. And at that moment, it's a quick bang bang play. There really isn't, I think, an opportunity or even the time to turn and run and add those turning, twisting movements. So we were looking at 13 American division from 2016, and now we're going to look at the Olympic level from 2016. And this player here, for China, Chu Ting, arguably maybe the best outside or most valuable player, certainly at the time. But you're going to notice that she also does a similar thing here to the 13-year-old. All right, we're locked in, we're playing some off-blocker defense, and at that moment, the need to watch and read both the dig and the set really doesn't allow her to turn and run. And if she were to turn and run, those added movements would just take more time. And I don't know if any of you caught it, But there's one other thing that she turns to look at, and it's right there. Okay? She turns to look at the defense and the block on the opposing side. Right there. A little bit of a head check just to see, you know, is the middle cheating over? Or is there likely to still be some sort of seam that I can attack? And, you know, she ends up going to that high seam and gets the tool kill. All right, another situation where we're locked in playing some coverage defense, and there you can see the cover to transition and then attack. There just isn't really, I think, the time, or maybe there isn't always the need to turn and run. And you can see again, after she digs this ball, she's going to turn and take a glance at the block and defense and get an idea, I think, of, you know, what do I want to do with my attack if I end up, you know, with a good set and a good setup. And, you know, I think she makes a nice choice there to, you know, attack high line on the setter and the opposite who's back there playing defense. Now back to the 13 American division. Nice, keep in play. Here on the near side to the right, we look at a nice sequence of movements. Okay, we're going to be looking at the outside hitter, peeling back, playing some down ball defense. I like that. And then the opening up there to essentially turn and run a little bit, I think is an appropriate move. You know, certainly I don't think that move is real extraneous, and doesn't appear to take a whole lot of, you know, time or effort. But I think where the constraints or just the task at hand here, I guess the hitter has I would guess anyway, that the hitter has a sense of more time in that in this read. She identifies early, this ball is a down ball. It's not moving fast. It's not coming to me. I'm going to turn and open up to look and watch the dig and see the digger. And from there, it just, you know, lends itself to a bit of a, you know, turn and run. It's really more of a open and see and read the dig. A little crossed over step there to continue getting off of the net. And then switches back to a sort of a backpedal shuffle there to create more depth so that the set and the ball is in front of her the entire time. A really nice sequence of movements here by this 13-year-old. Another look at it. All right, back to Chu Ting. Here we have the backpedal again. And you'll notice that going from a bit of a coverage to a very quick, you know, transition, it's the backpedal movement that she elects to use. I'm certainly seeing a pattern. It looks as though, you know, almost every time she's working and setting up to attack, she'll turn and look and get a mental image and picture of who's over there or where the defenders are. Again, here's a you know, 13 American division. It's the gold medal match. And here we have a really nice play by a hitter who's walking backwards, backpedaling, keeping her eyes locked in on what's happening with the pass and the set. And I think that's really a key point of emphasis. You know, our attention really needs to be on reading the dig or the pass and reading the set. A lot of times when I'm watching players who are turning and running, their attention tends to be on, these spots on the floor that they're looking at and running to. And, I think what happens there is that they lose this opportunity to see and read the dig, and then also to see and read their setter, which is going to give them a lot of key information for the attack that they're looking to set up. Now, that's not to say that, again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be teaching, 4-step off patterns, and we shouldn't be working with our players on turning and running. I think we should. I guess my point is, I don't see that movement as really a predominant movement that hitters are always using. And, what I end up seeing a lot over the years of coaching is so much time and energy being dedicated to this, turn and run footwork pattern. And a lot of times it's being done without the use of a ball, without the use of a pass and a set. And certainly there's no hitting that's really going on. Or if there is, it's off of a toss. So, I threw in here at the end, there are these times and there's a time and a place. Here's a drop back off blocker defense where turning and running is going to work. And I think when I see the turn and run movement, I see that there's it's set up by the player turning to look at the dig. And when that happens, we're kind of in this side stance towards our eventual, starting position for the attack. Because of the constraints of this situation and task, you can see that we are set up in a way for the crossover, shuffle, or run to really be the best movement pattern to use. So, you don't have to take my word for it, but I would encourage you to really watch volleyball at every level and make note of what you see. Okay, so on the far end, we see the outside covering the ball and using the backpedal footwork. And on the near side, we're going to see a turn and run by this pin hitter. Okay, or a bit of a turn and run. And that's the other thing too, is there's going to be variations of the movement. I like to say that there are, really 3 essential movement patterns for pin hitters, or all hitters. One of them is going to be backpedaling, which they tend to do naturally, so you don't really need to teach it. The other is going to be shuffling. Again, that's another one that tends to be pretty natural, and they use that quite frequently. And then running and turning and running. And, I think, again, that's something that probably, you do have to teach young players. But I don't know that we need to be spending as much time as we are dedicating our valuable gym time to specifically, the footwork pattern without the pass and the set. If you're going to work on footwork pattern, my recommendation is that you spend just a few minutes maybe on the pattern without the ball, but it's really not going to make a whole lot of sense to a player without the context of the pass and the set and the hit attempt. So, maybe in a 10-minute span, maybe what you're going to do is spend, 2 minutes or so on just the footwork without the ball, and some explaining and directing instruction. But then for the remainder of that time and the bulk of that time, you have to have the dig, set, and kill attempt. And stay focused on, footwork and the movement and, reading and using you know, your eyes and your read to inform you on the type of movements and you know, footwork that you're going to use. Okay, thanks for watching.